Stephen Fenech from Tech Guide here, and today we're talking about the M2 MacBook Air. It's had a transformation inside and out. Not only has it got a new design, it also has a new M2 chip. But before we dive into the review and talk about all the features, let's show you this quick unboxing. Here it is. This is the new MacBook Air. Just arrived. This is has 16 gig of unified memory, otherwise known as RAM, and has a 1 terabyte SSD drive. Now this color is one of the new colors. This is the Starlight, which is kind of a mixture of sort of silvery gray, goldy sort of color. Let's open it up and take a look at it, shall we? Shrink wrap comes off. And off comes the lid. And there it is. You'll notice too, first thing I notice is how much bigger the Apple logo is on top of the new MacBook Air as well. So let's check out this color. That is Starlight. It actually doesn't look too bad. So there's a silvery gold and there's all kinds of colors in there. Look how thin that is. MagSafe, the 2 Thunderbolt ports, headphone jack, very thin and light. What else do we have in the box here? We've got the power brick, which is I think the 30-watt power brick. Oh, that's got the double USB-C ports as well. So this is the 35-watt. You can see 35-watt charger. You can get I think a 65-watt or 60-watt charger to get the charge even faster. You also get the color matched MagSafe cable. So there's USB-C, so it goes into one of these ports, and you also then have MagSafe, which is same color as the laptop. The MacBook Air. Let's open it up. Let's open it. Whoa, it fires up automatically there. But that is really nice. There we have it. The new MacBook Air. One of the first things you notice, of course, is the new design of the MacBook Air. Gone is that wedge shape. It's now a uniform size across the board, but it is significant. It's one of the biggest design changes Apple's made for many years. Let's take a closer look. This is the Starlight edition, which you saw in the unboxing. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that it has this consistent shape to it, but previously you had that wedge design. This is just 11.3 millimeters thick. So no more tapered design, just a consistent size across the board. There are 2 Thunderbolt ports here, also USB-C shape as well. So that allows you to connect monitors. You can also charge through these as well, but what's back is MagSafe. MagSafe, this is the new cable that attaches magnetically, has been seen on the MacBook Pro, reintroduced on the MacBook Pro, but that is the cable that allows you to connect and charge magnetically, and if someone actually trips over the cable, it's not going to send the MacBook Air across the room. It's just going to harmlessly detach and protect your device as well. But let's do a little comparison. This is the current MacBook Air, and let's put it up against the previous model, and you'll notice the difference in terms of the design here a lot more dramatically. So you'll notice here no more tapered design, as we see here with the previous MacBook Air. So see how it starts here, tapers to a thinner size. Now it's just a more consistent size, a consistent thickness across the board. I think, yeah, an improvement. I don't mind this new design at all. It does add the MagSafe. MagSafe wasn't on the previous MacBook Air. The other side was just the headphone jacks as well. Just on the charging, you do get the 35-watt power brick, which has 2 USB ports. So it allows you to connect one to the computer, maybe one to your phone, and it will decide how fast it's charged. There is some technology on board that allocates the power based on the device that's connected to the charger. Now, I spoke earlier about the MagSafe as well. So cable, which is also color coded, by the way. This is the Starlight MacBook Air. The cable is also color coded. So if you get the silver, space gray, or midnight, your cable matches up. But choose one of your ports here, and then MagSafe connects just like that. And as we mentioned before, if this is attached and someone accidentally pulls on the cord, it harmlessly comes off rather than damaging the laptop as it's sent across the room. But that's a welcome addition, having that MagSafe charger there. Now, in terms of speed of charging, you can purchase a 67-watt charger that will charge the MacBook Air even faster. It'll get you to 50% charge in just 30 minutes, which is pretty impressive. We'll talk about battery life a little bit later, but just in terms of design, the improvements are not just on the outside. I'm talking also about the screen and the keyboard. So let's take a look right now. And one of the big things you'll notice with the screen is this notch. This was introduced with the 14-inch MacBook Air, 14-inch MacBook Pro and the 16-inch MacBook Pro. So basically what you're getting here, you're getting a little bit more screen real estate. So the size of this screen is 13.6 inches. So you're getting just a little bit more out of there. The FaceTime camera, the HD camera, is now embedded in that little notch there as well. So just that little bit of extra space really does help. So you're getting 13.6 inch screen. The keyboard also full keyboard, the Magic Keyboard, typical of Apple's keyboards, full height function row at the top as well. And nice travel on the keys also. If you're used to typing on a MacBook, it's pretty much very similar experience. And you also have the Touch ID button as well, so helps you get things if you want to authorize a payment, if you want to get into a website, and you want to wake it up from sleep. It does that in an instant with the Touch ID. Now, we talked about the color. Now, this is what they call Starlight. And I describe Starlight as a mixture of silver, a mixture of rose gold, and a mixture of grey. So it is sort of an amalgamation of those colours. It's really hard to pinpoint one. It's 1 minute it looks like silver, the next minute it looks a little like rose gold, a little bit like grey. It's kind of a little bit of all of those. Midnight has more of a bluish tone to it. I don't have that one. I've only got the Starlight, but I'm keen to have a look at the Midnight as well. And you've also got your other choices, what you'd expect, the regular choices, silver and space grey. But in terms of the design, I think Apple's done a great job here. They've, despite it being so thin, it's only, I think, 1.24 kilograms as well, so it's quite light. I've been carrying this in my backpack during my review, and you really forget that it's even there. It's so light. So, yeah, in terms of design, I'm really impressed. I do like that consistent thickness along the edge there. I do like this color as well, but 4 colors to choose from. This happens to be Starlight, which I don't mind. Righto, we've talked about the design and the changes on the outside. Let's get under the hood and talk about the new M2 Apple chip. Now, this is quite an improvement. The processing power, you'll notice, if you're coming from M1, you'll notice a slight improvement. But if you are coming from an Intel-based MacBook Air, then you're seeing some pretty dramatic improvements. So we were using Final Cut Pro, Photoshop, and we did notice, so we were coming from the M1 MacBook Air, and yes, there was a slight performance, like a 1.4, 1.5x improvement. But if you're coming from an Intel-based MacBook Air, which I believe most customers will, I can't see many M1 customers, which was released a year ago or a year and a half ago, suddenly thinking, well, I have to have the M2. The improvement in performance is slight. The difference in design, of course, is massive, so that could attract them across too. But I see the biggest customers, for the biggest group of customers for this are those still using an Intel-based Mac. Coming from M1, not so much. Slight, but not as big a jump as if you would be coming from Intel-based. So, like if you're using Final Cut Pro, for example, you're going to see up to about a 15x improvement in performance, which is significant. So yeah, M2. Really does well with this one. Just a word of warning though, the M2 is still not as powerful as the M1 Max and the M1 Pro. You remember those M1s released with the 14-inch and 16-inch laptops? They are the chipsets the chips that have been fused together. So it's like two chips in one. So M1 Max, M1 Pro would still outperform an M2. So don't think that having a higher number, the M2 is going to outperform the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. What will outperform those will be the M2 Pro and the M2 Max, which we're hoping to see perhaps later this year. But just to manage your expectations in terms of the performance. If you do still want that super performance, then maybe go for the 14-inch and the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I've also been asked about the M2 MacBook Air versus the M2 MacBook Pro. Remember the M2 MacBook Pro released a few weeks ago. They are $100 apart in Australian dollars. I think the MacBook Pro is $1,999 for M2, and the MacBook Air starts at $1,899. Now, the biggest difference is obviously the design. The MacBook Air looks different, but what the MacBook Air does not have that the M2 MacBook Pro does is active cooling. There is no active cooling in the MacBook Air. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you are performing tasks and rendering and doing those long, intensive processes, then the MacBook Air is going to back off slightly when things start to warm up. The MacBook Pro, having the active cooling, can handle those longer stints. So if you're doing an all-night render or video editing, something really intensive, that active cooling kicks in and you're able to still perform at those peak levels. What the MacBook Air allows you to do is to still do those in shorter bursts, just doesn't allow you for that same level of performance and the length of performance at those higher processing levels. The other big improvement you'll notice with the M2 MacBook Air is battery life. Apple says it will run for up to 18 hours. For my review, I was using this as my daily driver, so I was using it to do everything connected to the internet. Everything that I do all day long, I was doing on the M2 MacBook Air, and I was finding that at the end of the second day of work, that's when I had to reach for the charger. That's how impressive it was. Difference between the M1 and the M2, again, not that big, but if you're coming again from an Intel to the M2, you're going to see an incredible improvement. I remember saying during my M1 review of the MacBook Air that I can't recall a bigger improvement from one generation of a product to the next in terms of battery performance, and that's all due to that M2 chip. It does have that amazing power efficiency. The holy grail of a chip manufacturer is to offer high performance but use less power, and the M2 chip is really getting close to that with its redesigned architecture, with its unified memory. The unified memory is what we used to refer to as RAM. That also is improved as well, and that all comes together to offer that efficiency, and that's given back to the user with a longer battery life. And there you have it. That is the M2 MacBook Air. It certainly has the brains and the beauty, redesigned also with an improved chip. So an all-round improvement, definitely worth a look. If you want to read our complete review of the M2 MacBook Air, visit techguide.com.au. Thanks for watching.